Ever just get sucked into your phone? Like you look up and whoa, an hour's gone, maybe even more. Kind of ironic, right? We think tech's supposed to make us more efficient, but sometimes it feels like the opposite.
It's a real paradox, isn't it?
Mm.
This hyper-connected world, it promises to simplify our lives.
Mm.
But all that information, all those notifications, it can be completely overwhelming.
Definitely. And that's what makes this deep dive so relevant, I think. We're talking about digital detox, hitting the reset button, not necessarily like chucking our phones in a lake.
Right, exactly. It's more about, well, finding a healthier balance. A digital detox is really a conscious effort to step back and look at our relationship with technology. It's about making choices, being intentional about how and when we engage with the digital world, instead of letting it just sort of run our lives.
Makes sense. It's interesting, actually. Our sources for this deep dive point out some pretty common signs that you might, need a digital detox. Ever find yourself scrolling through social media before bed, even though you know it's probably messing with your sleep?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a real scientific reason for that. We hear a lot about blue light from screens being bad, but it's helpful to understand why. Basically, that blue light, it throws your brain off. It thinks it's still daytime, so it stops producing melatonin.
Melatonin being the, what, the sleep hormone, the one that tells our body it's time to wind down.
Exactly. So even if you're mentally exhausted after hours on a screen, your brain's still going, still wired, and that obviously messes with your sleep cycle.
Sleep's one thing. What other downsides would you say are we maybe overlooking by being plugged in 24/7?
One of the biggest ones, I think, is the impact on stress. There's a lot of research now showing that constant information, those endless notifications, they actually contribute to a feeling of being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Our brains are just bombarded constantly, so we never really unwind.
No wonder so many of us feel fried by the end of the day.
It's true. And that constant mental stimulation, it makes it harder to focus, too. We're so used to multitasking, to juggling screens and apps, that we lose the ability to just be present, to do deep, focused work. And that's crucial, by the way, for creativity, for real productivity.
It's like we're always on,
Yeah.
like our brains never really get a break.
That's a great way to put it. And that's really, I think, at the core of what a digital detox is trying to address. It's about reclaiming our attention. Right, deciding where we want to focus our energy instead of just reacting to whatever pops up on a screen.
So how do we actually do that? I mean, are we talking about going cold turkey here, ditching our phones entirely?
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be so extreme. It's more about, like we're saying, creating a healthier relationship, a more intentional relationship with technology. And the good news is our sources actually offer some pretty practical strategies we can use. Stuff we can start doing, like today.
Okay, yeah, I'm all for practical. What's step one on this digital detox journey?
Well, one of the most effective things, I think, is setting boundaries, digital boundaries. And that might mean, for example, deciding when we're going to check our email, our social media, instead of just letting it interrupt us every 5 seconds.
So being more proactive about it, instead of letting our inbox rule our day, we decide, okay, this is the time I'm going to deal with that, and then we can actually focus on other things.
Yes, exactly. It allows us to be more present, more productive throughout the day because we know, okay, that's taken care of. I have a designated time for that.
That makes a lot of sense. What other kinds of boundaries are we talking about?
Well, another thing our sources talk about is the idea of no phone zones. Basically designating certain spaces in your home where you just don't use your phone, like the bedroom, for example, or the dinner table.
I like that, creating these tech-free sanctuaries, places where we can actually unwind, connect with, ourselves and the people we care about.
Absolutely. Imagine actually enjoying a meal without scrolling through your phone, or having a real conversation with someone where you're both fully present, not constantly checking for notifications. It's about reclaiming those moments for real connection.
I have to admit, even just thinking about it, it does feel kind of freeing. But I think it's also easy to fall into that trap of like, what if I miss something? What if something important happens? That whole FOMO thing.
Oh, definitely. That fear of missing out is real, for sure. But here's the thing. What's really interesting is that even short breaks, even small periods of disconnecting, can have a really positive impact.
So we face that FOMO, we push through it, and then on the other side, all these benefits are waiting. I'm sold. But seriously, what kind of positive changes are we talking about here?
Well, you already mentioned sleep, and that's a big one. Cutting back on screen time, especially in the evenings, can really make a difference. But it's not just about feeling more rested, although that's obviously huge. A lot of people find that their stress levels go down too, that they feel less anxious overall.
Right, which makes sense when you think about it. We were talking earlier about how much information we're bombarded with when we're constantly online. A digital detox is kind of like giving our brains a break from all that. Yeah.
Exactly. And when we give our brains a break, they can actually function better. It's like
Mm.
our focus gets sharper, we become more productive because we're not constantly being interrupted.
Yeah.
We can actually get in the zone and get things done.
It's crazy how such a simple thing, minimizing distractions, can make such a big difference. Our sources also talked about some of the social benefits of disconnecting. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. I think when we step away from the digital world, it allows us to really be present in the real world. We can have more meaningful interactions with the people around us, and we can just appreciate the beauty of, well, of everything without feeling like we need to document it for Instagram.
It's like we forget sometimes that we can just enjoy things in the moment, put down the phone, and actually talk to the person sitting right in front of us.
Exactly. Or pick up a book, go for a walk in nature, do something creative. And we can do those things just for the joy of it, without that pressure to perform, to compare ourselves to what everyone else is doing online.
This has been a really fascinating conversation. It's definitely got me thinking about my own relationship with technology. I feel like I need to carve out some space for a digital detox in my life, that's for sure.
That's great. And remember, it doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing. It's not about becoming some kind of digital hermit. It's just about making conscious choices, choices that are right for you, that support your well-being.
So, if someone's listening to this and they're feeling inspired, what's one small step they can take today to start reclaiming their time and attention?
That's a great question. What feels most important to you right now? Is it setting some boundaries around your screen time, maybe creating a no-phone zone in your home? Or is it about rediscovering an activity you used to love, something you haven't made time for lately? Whatever it is, start small. Pick one thing and commit to it. You might be surprised by the difference it makes.